accountant.
So, hello my dear friends, this is your friend C. Jatin Agarwal and I welcome you back to this Typhoon to Salary series. Today, we are going to cover what are the various profiles in which you can work after you become a chartered accountant. So, these profiles I have broadly categorized into four ways. Firstly is your investment banking, second is your consulting, third one is your CA firm or Big Four related profiles, and fourth one is profiles for you in the corporates. So, please go through all these profiles to get a better understanding of all the domains which are there, so that you can choose your domain wisely and can work upon that in this tenure of 1 month till your result, right? So let's deep dive into this topic.
So the first one is your most fascinating profile, which is the investment banking. This profile fascinates you when you heard the name. That's investment banking. So talking about it, what basic work we do in investment banking is that they help the corporate clients secure funds in the capital markets, and they act as a financial advisor to help the companies navigate the mergers and acquisitions. So, like if you are giving an interview for investment banking, the first question they ask us that what is investment banking? So, investment banking is a particular profile in which you help the corporate clients or other clients to raise the funds via capital markets, any other sources which you have. So this particular investment banker charges fees based on the funds raised, right? Nowadays you have seen many IPOs are coming in the market. So what they are like, what banks are behind those IPOs? So investment banks are those banks which are behind those IPOs who make their IPO successful in the market. They know that how the funds can be raised via the securities market, which is the equity market, or via the private players which are there, right? So investment bankers do that type of work. If you want a deeper understanding, we'll have another session on the investment banking itself and the consulting itself, right? Because it's a very vast topic, and you can, if you specifically talk about that, what the various companies which hire for these rules. So these are your Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan. So these type of companies hire for this rule. Some boutique investment firms are also there in the market which hires for this rule. So if you want to get those boutique investment firms or that in core IB rules, you can, but you have to prepare for it. You have to go to the IB study material which is there. You have to get your CV shortlisted, right? So we'll get to know that how to prepare that CV in a manner that it will be shortlisted. So we'll have another class on this. So please do make sure to watch that class, that how to prepare your CV in the most optimal manner, right? So second one is your consulting profile. When you hear this word, and this is a most fascinating word for a chartered accountant, that we are giving consulting. And let me tell you that there are two main rules which companies offer so for the CAs if they get into this consulting profile. First one is your strategy consulting, right? So strategy consulting is particularly helping the company that what are with the various problems that they have. Suppose that Geo came with you that sir, this is my problem. My like earlier when Geo was not in the market, he had the problem that there are many players in the market and Airtel was dominating the market, right? So at the time, his problem was that how can it compete and surpass the other competitors? So at that time, particularly, it strategically spread its connection over India, and then it boosted in a manner that it supplied free of cost Wi-Fi's, free of cost network, and 1.5 GB data per day to the many users at the free of cost initially, right? So it was proper strategy that implemented the market to penetrate the market, right? So this is a sort of strategy consulting tool in which you cater the specific problems of the organization and prescribe them the ultimate solution to which their problems can get resolved, right? So this type of work is there. If I specifically talk about that, these strategy consulting profiles are offered by the three MBB firms, which is Bain, BCG, and McKinsey, and other boutique firms are also there. If you want to get in this role, and please do make sure to watch that video that will have a separate discussion on investment banking as well as consulting, right? And please make sure to watch the CV video also, so that you can design your CV in a manner so that it fascinates the respective employer, right? Now, second one in consulting is technology consulting. Many companies are there like Accenture, and which particularly consult the client that which technology to adopt, and in implementation of SCP, Oracle, what particular system they have. So this type of rule they offer to these chartered accountants after they hire them, right? So this is a sort of technology related rules which you can have. So this is a technology consulting and strategy consulting, two types of consulting we have, right? Now, moving forward to the next tool, which a CA fresher can get into. This now we have what we have done. We have strategically bifurcated that what a CA fresher do in the CA firms or big fours, and what he do in the corporates, right? So, firstly, if we'll talk about that what they do in the CA firms, right? So, in CA firms, these are the profiles which they offer to chartered accountants. First one is your statutory audit profile. You very well know that what the statutory auditor do, but you have to take care that in this type of profile you ask regarding the materiality, how the audit is practically done, how you make ensure that all the risk of material misstatement has been removed, and how you draft the audit report, what all laws and regulations needs to be complied with, right? And so this is a sort of profile which if you want to get into big fours or CA firms, you'll get, right? So second one is your internal audit. Let me tell you that in internal audit, what you need to do is you have to identify the risk as well, and then implement the respective controls, right? From the company's point of view, and you have to work, and but you are as a consultant from the Big Four side or CA firm side to work for the client, right? So this type of work you can get into the CA firms as well as Big Fours, right? Moving forward, the next tool which you can do is forensic accountant. Nowadays, many frauds, suppose if any fraud has been identified in a company, and they want that this particular accounts needs to be checked by an external party. This external party, they told to deep dive into that financial statements to identify any fraud, right? And they have the basic idea that fraud might be there, but they want that organization or that particular firm to deep dive, right? So in that role particularly we have to go through all the deeper aspects of the financials, and that how they have been prepared, whether there is any sort of manipulation is there, any fraud is there. So they have to work upon that. So this is that profile. Now next one is your due diligence and deal advisory, right? So like if you heard of this that big fours are into this profile, deal due diligence, deal advisory. Basically, like let's understand it with an example. Suppose you are running a company X Limited, and you want to acquire a company which is XYZ Limited, right? So it's basically a public company, but not a listed company, XYZ Limited. If you want to acquire the company, and you want an external party, which might be a big four or any other firm, that please do give a report on the other entity's financials or its working operations, that can you acquire the same or not? And if we want to acquire the same, what can be the valuations, possible valuations? So, so you hired, appointed an external party for the same. So that external party would work out, would see that whether the financials are showing the actual positions or not, whether any litigated matters are there which are not disclosed in the financials. There might be case. So based on that litigated matters, the valuation of that company would differ. So they have to work out that and do figure out, and they issue the report that this can be the valuation, and all the particular transactions or the financials are showing the correct positions of the entity or not, right? So and reverse would be the case if like XYZ Limited might conduct the due diligence of itself, or like it is buy side particularly sell side due diligence, that it will conduct its due diligence itself to find out that respective that whether what valuation it should be, it should sell to the seller, right? So this type of buy side sell side due diligence might be there, in which you can get into, right? So moving to next, which is your tax consultant. In particularly tax rules, you can get into three types of rules. First one can be your like compliance, and second one can be your litigation, and third one can be your advisory, right? So if I specifically talk you about that, being a chartered accountant, most of us don't want to go to this compliance rule. That's fair enough. But if you have like this interest area, then it's very best, right? So second, if I talk about advisory and litigation area, specifically talking about the direct tax, what they nowadays do, they also test you that whether you have worked on that on in the past or not, and if you have, then they take you to the practical case studies. They refer Bayer Act. They tell you to refer to the Bayer Act to solve a particular case. So like this they can test you. So this is this type of rule, and you very well know that what's the litigation advisory meaning here, right? So straight away moving to the next role, which is an ERP consultant. Nowadays, like software implementation is there in many companies. So this Accenture or any other company which is there, which implements a particular ERP in a company. So they have, so this Big Four or any other CA firm provides a consultant to that Accenture or that entity which is implementing an ERP. Thus, consultant is none other than a chartered accountant. He provides them financial insights that how this particular entry should flow in that SAP or any other software, right? So they sort of do this type of work, right? And this is a emerging field which is there, which is on your screen. This is ESG consultant. So what are this notes? Like, let me go through the annual report of RIL. You will get a better understanding that what's the significance of this ESG. You might have read this in your CA final exams also. So let me take it to the RIL report. So this is Reliance Industries report for the financial year 24. So see what they have indicated. Firstly, they have indicated their financial figures, their valuations, their consolidated revenue, right? Then they have indicated this management discussion and analysis on the various business segments it have. And then it indicated your integrated approach to the sustainable growth, right? Fair enough. So actually nowadays, if you want to raise a fund from the outside India, right? So they you have to prepare integrated reporting. You have to comply your financials for the integrated reporting framework. So they basically see that how you are sustainable company, how you are supporting the environment in which you are operating. Like see, so that's why see the annual report itself indicates the ESG norms first before then the financial statements, right? The financial statements is on page number 118, while the sustainability report is on starts from the page number 39. So you have to report that first. And this is a very interesting and emerging field for chartered accountants. And this also you have to issue an audit report. This is not sort of that financial audit report that we as a statutory issue. This is a different report. You have to issue that report basically certified to these ESG compliant and basically the person who do the audits, so they certify that the ESG norms has been followed and the practice that they're following are correct or not, right? Many companies issue the bonds in the foreign, this sustainability linked bonds, so they have to comply with this. This is emerging field, you can definitely get into it. You will have emerging means various opportunities in the future, because all companies are now taking its move to develop its own self-paced this sustainable growth committee or sustainable growth team, right? So these are ESG, these teams basically comply with the ESG norms which are there in the company. So please make sure that if this is your interest area, go into this profile. Now you will see that who basically hires for this profile. Some companies are out there which hires, then the big fours are there, some other small firms are there which hires for this profile. So you can get into this profile, depends on your choice, but you have to find, right? You have to do some research findings, and I'm there to help you out. So please do reach me, and if you want any help from my side, right? Now back to this profile section of the big fours or CA firms. This is M&A taxation on your screen. So this M&A taxation rule, what we do is that suppose if that earlier example that X company want, I have another example, practical case study. Like, do you remember the case study of Tata, how it acquired the Air India? There was a provision that has been introduced in the tax laws that if Tata has acquired the Air India, all the accumulated losses of the past year will be available to set off to Air India after Tata's acquisition from the date the strategic acquisition gets complete. So they will give they are allowed a fresh that 7 year 5 year provision which is there. I like 8 years which is there. I'm not like fully aware, cannot recall, but that 8 years is fully allowed after the strategic acquisition gets completed. Because you know that a lot of carry forward accumulated losses is there, which is available to set off. But if like the strategic acquisition itself get completes in 3 to 4 years, so this period will lapse, right? Tata will not get benefit of it. So this M&A taxation planning is very important because it might cost a company huge amount of losses, that huge amount of opportunity cost, right? So this as a sort of taxation rule and relating to mergers and acquisitions, which particular the CA firms or the big fours offer to the companies, right, as external party. Now, next profile for there's the valuation profile, right? It is more upgradation of your due diligence. In due diligence, you basically assign a report that all is going well, but in valuation, you determine the valuation of a particular asset or investment or a company, right? So this is also done by registered valuer, which you have gone through like during your preparations, that as per Companies Act, you can also be eligible as a registered valuer. You have to fulfill certain criteria to pass certain exams, right? So this type of profile is also there if you want to get into. Now, coming to the corporates. So these are various profiles which the corporates offers to a chartered accountant. The first one is a management trainee, right? So let me take you to the management trainee profile. Let's understand what is it. So see, what companies do. They particularly hire you for as a management trainee. What firstly, you will be assigned a stint. You will be assigned 2 to 3 stints. Like for the initial 1 to like for the initial 6 months or 3 months, you'll be assigned to a particular task. Then your stint will change. You will be assigned to another task. Like firstly, it is your internal audit. Second is your financial reporting. Third is your financial planning and analysis. What's the purpose? They want the candidates for the different roles. So they want you to get a gist of all the profiles which is there, so that you can get the overall idea of the organization, and then they will fit you to a particular role, right? So that's the role which the company assigns in this management trainee role, right? Now coming to the next profile which is there, it is a financial analyst. So in this financial analyst, this name fascinates you that we have to analyze some finance related core things, right? So this profile company, if offers, then you have to first go through the job description, that what the company will give, what work will the company give to you, right? So you please make sure that go through the job description first, and majorly this work involves the financial analyzing of the financial data, financial analyzing of the financial data, which is there is an organization. It is a sort of financial planning and analysis role, and these rules are particularly assigned in many companies, like Amazon hires for the same, or some investment banking companies are there which hires for this role, right? Third one is your financial controller. So what a controller do? Basically, suppose that CFO is there, under that some sort of VPs are there in the organization. So that financial controller is sort of that particular head person who overall measures the financial reporting team, financial planning and analysis, or a sort of compliance team. So this is basically head of all those persons. So being a CFA fresher, you'll definitely not get directly into the financial controller role, but you'll work under him, right? So let's understand what works are there under him. So this is particularly your accounts related role, which we will get an understanding in the 9th or 10th point, which is the 9th point, right? So next is your corporate finance rules. So this corporate finance rules is basically in the head office of the company, not in plant office or not in subsidiaries, or not in not in other regional offices. This is majorly in the head office of the company, in which you can work upon the mergers, acquisitions, or some sort of restructuring, fundraising. Companies do have their own departments, like trade finance department, which sees that from where the funds can be raised, what can be the possible sources of the funds, whether it can be sourced from India or from the outside India. They analyze that scenario, they obtain the credit ratings which is there, or work upon that to optimize the sourcing of the funds for the organization, right? So this is this type of role which the corporates offers. And this is thus another rule, which is your financial planning analysis. Let's understand with an example. Suppose there is a budget and there is a actual result. So deviation is there in both. So you have to identify the reason for the deviation. This is what the financial planning analysis people do. And there's two assignments are there. First one is your revenue side, second one is your expense side. So it's on you that it's on the company that in which particular side it assigns you. Talking about the revenue side, suppose a Flipkart company is there and in which estimated budget for this season, end of season sale is 10 CR, but it is 8 CR only. Why the deviation is there? It is actually measured on the real time basis, right? So the management can get the quick decisions. Second one is your expense side. Like suppose in Flipkart is itself incurring a logistic cost. So region-wise logistic cost analysis is there, then month-wise analysis is there. If there is a deviation, then you have to identify and provide the reason. That's all, right? Now the another role is credit analyst. Suppose this credit analyst, as the name suggests, that suppose a RM is there in a bank, so that RM attracts decline, then it sends to the credit analyst that you analyze whether the financials, based on the financials, the person is able to get this amount of loan or not. You have to basically assess the credit worthiness of the individual or business based on this financials, right? So that's here the role of chartered accountant is to analyze the financials and to find out the valuations based on which we can assign them the loan. So this profile is basically in banks and NBFCs, right? So moving to the next profile, which is your treasury manager, right? The treasury manager basically divides this role is divided into three main parts. First is your working capital. Suppose you are working in an organization in the working capital domain. It's basically in the corporate office only, or some sort of diversification might be there, and depends on the organization, right? So in this particular role, what you need to do that what is the possible allocation of the funds, what can be the fund requirements, then you have that particular funds, then how you allocate that funds to the various requirements, right? This is what your work is, right? You have to see that whether any lag between the source and what the fund available as well as the expenses there, then you have to identify and tell specifically to the trade finance team to arrange the funds, right? So this is what your role. Second one is your this particularly allocation related rules, which is there, which demands the funds. So you have to release that funds to the various sub parties, which is there, right? Now moving towards the next now moving towards the next topic, which next profile, which is there, which is your cost controller. So assume that you are working in a manufacturing company. So in that, everything depends on cost. Because the revenue side is overlooked by different team, but you have to monitor the cost. You have to check the per unit cost and daily cost, weekly cost. You have to check that with the budgeted plan which is there. So in that cost, this FP&A profile, sort of FP&A profile done in the manufacturing entities by this cost team only. So you are doing that type of working in that, you will definitely get a deeper understanding of what the organization actually do, right, in those types of roles. Now next is your accounts manager role, and let me tell you a fact that this is the basic role in which you can get into, and many CA get into this role only, right? So this is basically divided into four parts. First is your AR. AR means related to accounts receivable. In this particular profile, you have to monitor that receivable, you have to check its booking as well as entries, and then you have to prepare the accounts receivable TV. Basically, it's separate TV for the accounts receivable. Second, similar to that, there is a role of AP, right? And third one is your R2R. R2R basically check that whether all the transactions which has happened have been particularly reported and they then have been particularly recorded, and then the same has been reported in the proper MIS format. That's all they do, right? Now, fourth one is your GL. GL ensures that all the financial accounts, which is then the company, have been closed in the appropriate manner so that the financial statements can be prepared, right? So they do this work. After that, only the financials can be prepared. So they basically can prepare the financial statement. This is what the GL role is. So please do make sure to check the JD if you are applying for a role or if you are going for a role, right? Now, next one is your regulatory compliance officer role. Here we have to ensure that adherence to some laws and regulations, like some company DSHO is there. If they hire for the filing various forms, which is as per the SEC Security Exchange Code guidelines of the US. So they are hiring you as a regulatory compliance officer role, right? Next is your risk manager. Suppose Kotak is there, and in which the funds management company, Kotak Funds Management. So what they do, they manage the funds for the HNIs or some large clients. So they assign a margin to them. So they also assigns a risk to the various derivatives in which the client is working. So you have to manage that risk and provide the margin based on the risk which you have assigned, right? So this is the sort of role, and these are the most fascinating rules for chartered accountant. First is CFO training, then is MD office executive assistant rule. In these rules, you will directly work under the CFO CEO. Under the CFO, you will help him for the financial planning, risk management, record keeping, and financial reporting. All these works you will do. And for the MD office rules, you will help them in the decision makings and on the help them in the new action plans. Sir, can we get into this new business or not? So you will prepare a report on that, right? Then is your ERP consultant. That is a similar sort of work which we have seen in the CA firms rules, because this role is hired by the this role is offered by the organization also, which like startups which is there, which has just started to implement a ERP, right? Now this is your environment accountant, similar sort of ESG. Then your investor relationships, in which you have to deal with the external stakeholders like investment bankers, governments, etc., for the purpose of fair dealing of the both that the company and that another party. Now some like software companies are there like Wipro and HCL, which has for the rules of pricing, in which you have to set a pricing for their product for the client, and it depends on customer to customer, so you have to set the pricing for them. So this is what the company offers. Now no. I want to let you know that how can you apply for the jobs here. So you can apply for the job. There are various ways. First, you can send your application to the HR or management person of the company. You can send your CV via your references, or can apply through the job posting. If you get to know any on the company website, you can apply via LinkedIn, also by the personal messages to the persons, or LinkedIn itself has a job profile portal, which in which you can get into various jobs which is available, right? And I suggest to you to make your particular profiles on the Naukri, your IAM jobs, your fast careers, because these three portals offer you good sort of opportunities in the future. So please do make sure to make your profile on these portals also. And finally is your ICA campus. So please do make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and do share it, right? So that's all from my side. This is your friend C. Jatin Agarwal. Thank you so much.